Okay, well, my name's Sam Allaby. I been living in Lytton for about the past 3 years now, and I've had quite a bit of an opportunity to get in with the community there. Involved with the Lytton Museum and the Anglican Church, and I do some work for the village office and different things like that. So I've had quite an opportunity to get to know people in the community and establish relationships with people. When I first landed in Lytton, I didn't really know what to think of it, because I was like, I like a small town, but like this is really, really small. But it kind of grew on me to the point where I can't really imagine living anywhere larger than 200 people. Oh yeah, no, the people down there is very friendly. Once you get in with people, it's kind of like a big, I don't know, it's just like a big common living space. It's like we're all extended family, and the village is like our common living room. You have your routines. You go down, check your mail in the morning. The same guy sitting there drinking coffee who was sitting there yesterday, and you chat with the people down by the hotel, or you make your routines, and you get used to the same thing kind of happening every day type thing, right? My experience with the Lytton Fire, well, there wasn't really any time for anything, well, I guess the people who lived in Lytton, I guess they're fairly experienced with wildfires and stuff like that in the area. But even for no one there to catch on quick enough, it just goes to show that there literally was no time. My experience leading up to the fire is like we just had that really bad heat wave for, they say it was a few days. I say it was more like over a week. And so we were getting that really bad heat wave, and I just remember, like, because of that, I was pretty well staying inside my house. I had my air conditioning going and the windows all sealed, so you can't really see in or out, so you don't know a whole lot of what's going on outside either. And I remember, like, I kept on looking outside because there were other fires in the area, so you could see smoke over the horizon, like up in the mountains, for different fires. Because I remember just it might have been the day before that somebody told me that one of my friends in Lytton, they were packing some of their things in case we had to go. And at this point, there wasn't any kind of an alert or anything. It was just somebody with a little bit of foresight. They were packing their things, but they told me, don't worry, there's still no real problem. So I don't really know what to think, because I don't have a lot of experience with wildfires. I was living down the Lower Mainland, so my belief at the time was, well, if there's any major problems or major crisis, well, I'm sure somebody would tell us, right? Like, we live out in the middle of Wildfire Central. Like, I'm sure there's some kind of a system, or I didn't know what that system might be, but I figured, there should be something, so I wasn't really panicking. So let's say on the day of the fire, the wind really picked up that day, like really, really, really high wind. And here's me thinking, oh, well, that's nice. It should cool things off a little bit, right? Still not thinking, okay, wind spreads fire. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of experience, so some people might take it, oh, the wind's going up, maybe we should get ready to go or do something, but there is still nothing, so I didn't really pay any attention to it. So next thing you know, this is later on in the day now, like getting close to the time that we left, probably around 5:45 or something in the evening. Suddenly I I get this smell of smoke, and it was different than the regular smell of smoke. You know, the smell of smoke, once you get used to it and get saturated in it, you know what it smells like. But this was different. This was like really strong smoke, and I'm like, what's going on out there? So I opened my door. I look, I could smell smoke really, really strong, and the air was starting to kind of thicken up a bit, but I'm like, there's still no warnings, still no alerts. I'm like, I'm getting a little bit concerned, but I'm still thinking, like, I'm sure if there was a problem, somebody here by now would have figured it out. It must be fine, maybe whatever. I didn't really know what to think, but I was like, well, I'm going to go outside anyway, and I'm going to turn on my sprinkler. Like, I don't know what I thought that was going to do, but I thought maybe, you know, just to keep the grounds wet or something in case there is a fire or some kind of a spark. Well, anyway, when I went to turn on my sprinkler, I noticed across the street, I actually got a photo of it on my phone. I noticed right across the street from me, a small fire started on the hill, and I figured out later that this fire was from a spark from the fire that was coming that we didn't even see yet. Well, I didn't see. Anyway, so I look across the street, and like this fire, I don't know, it's about campfire size, but it's obviously burning where it shouldn't be burning, because it was up behind somebody's house. But you know, and at first I kind of look at it, and I'm okay, there's a fire there, but there's still nobody doing anything. I'm like, okay, I don't think that guy started that fire. At first I think, well, would it be a controlled burn? And I'm like, because people burn stuff all the time, you know, but still I'm thinking, okay, there's a fire across the street, crank on the sprinkler, and I run in, and I'm getting to a point, okay, well, I'm going to call somebody and see if there's a problem here. So I call across the river. I can't remember if I called across the river or if one of my friends from across the river just happened to call me at the time, but I was talking to one of the Mundalls on the west side there, and I was talking to one of them, and I said, yeah, I said, there's a fire outside, like across the street, and I don't think they really realized the severity of the time, because he's like, okay, man, he's like, just stay inside your house. He said, we'll be there as quick as we can. We'll come check it out. And I was like, no, I was like, you don't understand. It's like, there's a fire across the street, like it's there. And he's like, yeah, he goes, we know, we deal with these things all the time, you know, well, just stay there. Well, anyway, I was only on the phone with him for maybe 2 minutes, not even, just a quick, yeah, there's a fire, you know, don't worry, whatever. So by the time I hung up the phone with him, and like I said, from the time I seen the thing across the street to the time I came in on the phone, this is all like 2-3 minutes tops. So by the time I hang up the phone with him, all of a sudden I hear this banging on the door, like really, really loud banging. I hear somebody screaming, come on, we gotta go. You know, and I open the door and I see this police officer there, and like I could see the panic in his face. This wasn't like, come on, grab a few things, it's, you know, it's almost time to go. This is like, we gotta go now. He's screaming. He's like, there's a fire. So I'm like, okay, just 1 second. I'm trying to get my shoes on, and I just managed to get my shoes on, but I tried to get my dog on the leash, and my dog. He was too excited, and he was scared, and the dog got away from me, and he took off down the driveway, and you know, the interesting thing is, I put it all together, and you know, the dog taking off down the driveway along with the police officer had a lot to do with my actual survival, because the dog took off down the driveway, and I still, like, you know, I was looking, and there's like black smoke coming up from like down the hill, like behind my house, down by where the train bridge is. So the smoke was coming up, but like I was like, okay, there's a fire, you know, we should have a second or two to outrun this thing. So the dog takes off down the driveway, and I said, well, I gotta get my dog, so I dropped my bags. I actually had a bag that had like some survival. I have like a bug out bag. It has a hatchet, first aid kit, different things like that. And I actually had that in my hand, but I dropped it to run out and go get the dog. And from the time that I got down my steps, just down, my driveway is only short. It's only maybe 20 feet long or something. By the time I get down the driveway, I look, and just this great big wall of fire, like it is a rolling smoke, and it came up the back alley, and my house is right on the alley. So I just see this thing coming up the alley, and all of a sudden it was just this wall of fire. Like, I don't know, it could have been 10 feet tall. To me, it seemed like it was 100 feet tall, like it was just the scariest thing I've seen. And it was coming up the hill, like, with speed, like it was like you had to outrun it. Like, it was probably coming up that hill probably 10 kilometers an hour, like just like a lava flow. And so, I see this fire coming up, and by the time I see it, it's probably maybe 50 feet away from me, and it's coming up this hill. And all of a sudden, this like fire, like coals and stuff, started raining down, like falling on me. I was like covering my head, like trying to like not get burnt. And so like I couldn't even get into my car, because by the time I ran down the driveway, because I was looking for the dog, I turned around because the police officer was running towards his car, and he was yelling. He's like, "Get in your car and get out of here, get out of here." So I ran, trying to get into my car, but all the burning stuff was falling, and I couldn't get into the car in time, so my keys were in my pocket, and I was scared, and I was fumbling. I dropped my keys once or twice, and finally there was just too much burning material falling down from the sky. I had to run. This fire was coming, so it already caught the neighbor's truck on fire. It was like right in the next yard, and things were burning. So I finally just ran down my driveway, and I looked, and it was coming up the hill. So I turned right, and I just ran as fast as I could with this fire chasing me, and there was nowhere to go already. There was so much smoke, you couldn't see anything. You had no idea where you were going. And this police officer, I got lucky because he tried to drive away because he was out running the fire. And I got lucky enough because the police officer, he just happened to be stopped at the end of the alley. I don't know if he was waiting to make a turn or what he was doing, but I ran. I finally caught up to the police car, and I just grabbed onto his door, and I was just pulling like a screaming, let me in like that. And the police officer, he was in such panic that he couldn't unlock the door. Like, he was so scared. He's like, I can't unlock. I'm sorry, And then all of a sudden, the door just happened to come unlock, and I dove into the car. And like, the thing is like we got out of there, but then I basically, because I was with the police officer, I kind of had to hang out with him while he drove around and tried to evacuate other people. And like the things that I saw and witnessed and stuff when we were driving around, like it was terrible. It was like a front row seat of seeing everybody's houses burning, people screaming, people crying, pets running all over the place, tanks or things exploding, like, the noises, and it happened so fast. Like, from the time that we first smelled the smoke, the whole village was on fire in like less than 10 minutes. Like, but the thing is like, I was so devastated, because like I thought that I left that dog, and and it wasn't about, just about losing the dog. It was like, I felt so guilty for leaving him behind, because it's like he depended on me to take care of him, and then I couldn't get him, you know. But yeah, I remember we left we left the scene of the fire there. I was with the police officer, and he ended up taking me up out onto the highway eventually. After he also rescued my neighbor. He got my next door neighbor into his police car, and so he drove me down the highway to a pullout, and then he flagged over another lady that was driving. I can't remember what her name is, but I do know her. She's from Lytton, and he asked her to drive me down to the Sitka Native Band, because I guess they set up last minute effort. They opened up their community center to people that were fleeing Lytton. So I ended up going down there, and I was fortunate enough to meet up with a couple other people from Lytton that also ended up down there. So we spent the night in a hotel in Boston Bar, and then the pastor from my Anglican church in Lytton there, he drove all the way down from Ashcroft to get me from Boston Bar, and because the highway was closed, he had to drive all the way around, and it took him a good 4 hours to come and get me out of there. But yeah, like, it really, it's a life-changing event. Like, it's one thing. I've seen all kinds of these terrible things happen on the news. I've seen fires in Australia. I've seen people lose houses, villages. We had fires in 2017, and a lot of people lost things. But I'll tell you, when you're there, like, it really affects you when you stop to realize, like, how close you come to dying by fire. Mm-hmm. Like, it's weird. It's not like, oh, I almost got hit by a car, boy, that was close. Like, oh no, it was just pure terror. Like, to be running out of there and to have burning things falling on your head, and seeing people screaming and people running, nowhere to go, and watching, your home just burn down to nothing. But, so, I went that night, the first night when we stayed in Boston Bar in the hotel. I had lucky enough to have a room by myself, but, like, I didn't sleep at all. I was so worried about this poor dog that I left in the fire. I couldn't stop thinking about him roaming around all night, worried about, why he was left there. And, I was thinking about all these other people, and at this point, we didn't know how many people got out of the fire. We didn't know how many casualties there were or anything, but, I was just, I didn't sleep at all. And then I remember the next day, well, that night, I called my father, who lives all the way on the East Coast, and I told him what happened, and he says, right away, he says, well, we're going to put a thing on Facebook, we're going to find your dog. And, like, right away I was thinking, oh brother, here comes Facebook. And like, I'm not a fan. I don't use Facebook, but he insisted, no, so he talked to I have an aunt who lives on the Lower Mainland. I guess they all work together, and they put this post on Facebook. Well, this is only one day after the fire, so, I'm not in my opinion, I was pretty sure he didn't survive anyway, because where he was in the fire and all this stuff. Well, the next day I happened to be up in Merritt because they had the arena there. They were giving out some clothing and food and different things like that. So I was up in Merritt. You know, when I escaped from the fire, I literally had nothing. I boxer shorts and a t-shirt, and I was lucky enough to have my wallet and my phone. And I was lucky for that because I never have my wallet in my pocket, and I can almost never find my phone. So, you know, it's very, very lucky that I have my wallet and my phone. So, but anyway, I was up there going to the arena, and I just happened to stop by. As me and the pastor from my church and another friend of ours who had to leave Lytton. We were sitting there having coffee in this restaurant that we never go to, but we were there, and all of a sudden my dad sends me a text message. He goes, I think we found your dog. and of course I'm all excited. I'm being optimistic, but other people around me are kind of telling me, like, you know, don't get your hopes up. You know, it could be another dog, and you know, just, you know, I'm being optimistic and they're being realistic. You know. So, but anyway, my dad's like, he goes, I'm gonna try and get them to send a picture and stuff. So he's communicating with this group on Facebook. I'm communicating with my dad, and everybody at the table's getting all worked up, and it's just a big commotion. Then all of a sudden my dad sends me a picture, and I was like, it is my dog. Like, no, they did find him, and it was just such a coincidence because he actually ended up in Lytton. He ended up jumping into a truck that belonged to somebody who knew my landlord. And it was actually just a strange coincidence because the person who rescued my dog, well, they were staying in a house that was only 5 minutes from this coffee shop that I was having coffee at. You know, I found out where they were, and they were like, well, we're at such and such an address. I looked, and I was like, that's just right around the corner. You know, and I couldn't believe it. You know, I got the dog back, and I'll tell you, like, that made all the difference right there, because before I got the dog back, I was so full of guilt. You know, it wasn't, yeah, of course I was upset about my loss, you know, my little dog and my house and all that stuff, but I'll tell you, the real part was the guilt, because that was a living thing that depended on me. And you know, I left him there, and like, I was just, before we found the dog, I just I felt like, I was like, you know, life is over. Like, I don't want to do anything, because I was like, yeah, I lost everything and my companion. You know, I live on my own. He's all I have. You know, he's my buddy. You know, he's like my son. You know, so, but no, as soon as I got the dog back, I realized, you know, everything that matters is here. You know, the important thing is being able to save the lives, because, you know, all the money in the world can't replace the lives. You know, I can go out and buy another dog, but you know, it's not that life. You know, it's just like friends and family. You know, the more friends and extended family that I was reunited with over the past month or so, every time I got into contact with somebody, I felt better and better, because that was another life that I knew made it out. Because as long as you save the lives, you know, we can rebuild. You know, we can rebuild, and if nothing else good can come of this, you know, one thing good that came out of this is it's helping us reestablish our relationships with our neighbors, and it's helping us reestablish some faith in humanity, because you know, it's really nice that all these people come out to help us when they do, but you know, it would be really nice to see people help each other in these ways even when there is no disaster. You know, it would be really nice, you know, if all these bad things came from this fire, but you know, if something good can come from it, you know, I think we should embrace the moment that we're in, where we do care about people and we do value life. And you know, I think it's important for people to live each day to the fullest, because you know, you don't know, you know, it's easy to go from on top of the world to nothing overnight. You know, there's you know, like all these people that lost their homes and lost their things, you know, we were all people, you know. I've gone to some places looking for emergency assistance, or looking for, I don't know, just whatever resources I can get, and some places have almost made me feel like I'm just some homeless person looking for a handout. You know, like as if I'm applying for some kind of income assistance or something. Whether or not I was, it's still no right to make anybody feel like that. But you know, these are the ongoing hardships that people will experience from the fire. Like, you know, people who are used to being able to support themselves, suddenly they have to look for handouts. And you know, there's been an awful lot of good people and good organizations and societies, I guess, that have stepped up to help people. And you know, I think that's helped, you know, for our immediate needs. But you know, it's moving forward that it's really going to be the hardest, because you know, every day we live with what we lost. Well, I don't know if you mean, did I leave without anything of super importance? Well, the thing is like, you know, I know they're just material things, but like I lost everything, you know, and lots of people lost everything. Like, I'm not the only one, but like, you know, things like, you know, like computer equipment that I would use for work, you know, and like, yeah, people have stepped up where I didn't expect it, and some people make donations, so I was able to get myself another laptop so I can continue work. But you know, it works, but it's not all the stuff that I lost. And like, I know these are material things, but like, when you're talking about stuff like computer equipment, like you're looking at like thousands of dollars, you know. And like, it's the same thing as, you know, I'm sure there's carpenters in town that probably lost every tool that they own. There's plumbers that lost every wrench that they own, you know. And that's the thing, like some of these things that we lost, yeah, they're material things, but they're also our livelihood. You know, well, I lost a mountain bike, for example. You know, every morning that was my routine to get up and go for my bike ride. Now I don't have a mountain bike. You know, of course, you know, if somebody were to donate and say, here, go get a mountain bike, it's still not that easy, because now you feel guilty spending this money on a mountain bike. Is there something else I should be buying? Well, no, we gave you the money to go get a mountain bike. I know, but you know, because you know, you get that certain mindset in life where, you know, you budget for things that you need, and then you battle with whether you want it versus need it. And then you end up in a situation where, you know, you have to replace these things. And I don't know if you don't want to replace them because you're afraid of losing them again, or if you feel guilty for replacing them, or, you know, it's really hard to explain. Because even when we get the when we got the clothing vouchers, the arena gave us some clothing vouchers to go to fields. And I think for a single person, I think it was $125 or $150 or something for some clothes, which was very nice, very generous, much appreciated. But under normal circumstances, somebody gives you $150 and says go shop, and you're like, woohoo, shopping spree, you know? But it's like, I had this money, and I went to fields, and I could tell who the other evacuees were without even talking to them, because we're all just walking around completely catatonic. We don't even know what we want. You know, and it's like we got this free money to buy any clothes item we want, and it's like nothing's registering. It's like we look, you don't want anything. You know, and that's you know, once you escape the fire, and once you have food and clothing and temporary housing or whatever you have, you know, that's just a small part of, you know, kind of like first response to deal with the immediate problem. But you know, there's ongoing trauma and things like, you know, I couldn't sleep for the first 3 weeks because of bad dreams and anxiety. And then, you know, I moved to Ashcroft, well, temporarily refugee in Ashcroft to get away from the fire. And next thing you know, we're on evacuation alert in Ashcroft, and you know, I'm constantly breathing smoke, and I'm just mentally, I'm a wreck. It's very, very difficult to just carry on. It's really hard to say, like, because everybody is in a different state of need. You know, like some people already have housing and they need furniture. Some people don't have permanent housing. What are they going to do with a couch? You know, it's like it's such a hard thing. Like, I don't know. Honestly, the best thing that these people could use is just, I guess, just money. You know, like that's what people need. I guess they can decide for themselves if they want to get a hotel or buy clothes or buy bread, or because I guess it kind of comes down to, I guess, not only giving people what they need, but I guess to some degree maybe helping them get what they want, you know, so that they can kind of cope with this. You know, but you know, if you want to help people on a non-financial level, I would say the best thing you can do is just listen, because all of us people who survived the fire, we're getting tired of hearing everybody else's stories we've been talking about. So, you know, if you're not a survivor of the fire, you know, if you're just somebody on the outside looking in, the best thing you can do is just listen to the person, because you know, you might be the only person who's not sick of hearing about it. You know, you might, you know, give them somebody to talk to.